The 42nd Center for Citizenship presents The Road to Independence, Video 3, the Declaratory Act and the Quartering Act. The Declaration of Independence, written in 1776, outlined the colonists' complaints against the King of England and their desire to be free and independent. This document played an important role in the American colonies becoming what is today the United States of America. Well, how did this happen? What caused the colonists to write the Declaration of Independence? Well, if you've seen any other videos in this series, you have some idea already. But we're going to continue to explore key events that took place from 1754 to 1776, and how these events led to the writing of the Declaration of Independence. After watching this video, you'll be able to summarize the events that led to the writing of the Declaration of Independence, just as you've done with the other videos in this series. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, as you've learned, for more than 150 years, the colonists lived peacefully under English rule. It wasn't until the mid-1700s that the relationship between the colonists, the English or British Parliament, and King George III changed and became strained. Some key events occurred that created this difficult relationship. Let's spend a couple minutes in reviewing some of those events. In another video, we learned how the American colonists reacted to the taxing policies of the Stamp Act, and it was not good. And you recall, of course, that the colonists sent England a petition of their grievances or problems in relation to the Stamp Act, in particular, taxation without representation. Parliament repealed the Stamp Act, but they replaced it with the Declaratory Act. The Declaratory Act stated that the British Parliament's authority extended to the colonies, and it had the power to make laws for the colonies because, of course, all the colonists were British subjects. The colonists didn't really acknowledge the Declaratory Act and instead celebrated the repeal of the Stamp Act. Now, they did admit that they were loyal British subjects, but they also thought that the ability of England to tax them without giving them representation in Parliament was simply disgraceful. Another act that was passed about the same time as the colonists were fighting the Stamp Act was the Quartering Act. With the Quartering Act, Parliament ordered colonial legislatures to force colonists to house and feed English soldiers they didn't even want there. The colonists viewed the Quartering Act as unjust for a couple of reasons. First, it was a large financial cost for the colonists because they had to feed and house a growing number of soldiers, and there were more and more of them every day. Second, the Quartering Act basically allowed a standing army in a time of peace. Why was that a problem? Well, this was a grave concern to the colonists because they feared it was a possible source of abusive force, and that the troops were there to control their freedom. This was so impactful that when we had our own country, it became the Third Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that you could not be forced to quarter soldiers by the government. Let's check in. Try to answer the following question in your own words. How did the colonists respond to the Declaratory Act and the Quartering Act? For the Declaratory Act, the colonists pretty much ignored it and wouldn't admit that it was correct. While with the Quartering Act, the colonists saw it as an expensive threat to their freedom. So let's recap what we've learned in this video. The English government passed the Declaratory Act, asserting their dominance over the colonies and forcing them to follow the laws passed by Parliament. Now, the colonists ignored and rejected that act. The English government enacted the Quartering Act, forcing the colonists to house British troops at their own expense. The colonists saw the Quartering Act as an expensive threat to their freedom. Eventually, when the colonies showed some resistance, we're going to see signs of tyrannical government. As we continue to progress through these acts, you'll observe the loyalty of the colonists as British subjects, but also look for the moment where tensions between the colonists and England begin to rise beyond reasonable limits. Now that we know how the American colonists reacted to the Declaratory Act and the Quartering Act, let's continue to explore the ways in which tensions grew between the British government and the American colonists that led to the writing of the Declaration of Independence. Be sure to watch the next video, The Road to Independence, the Tea Act, and the Intolerable Acts. This video is produced by the 42nd Center for Citizenship at the Declaratory Institute for educational purposes. Thanks for watching.